I'm Tamsin Edwards. I'm a climate scientist. I'm a senior lecturer in physical geography at King's College London. Welcome to my exp. I think if there was one message I'd want to give to people in my work in climate change and talking to the public about climate change, it's the importance of not succumbing to black and white thinking, or, because I work in polar climate change, what you might call polar thinking, because we live in a world that is increasingly polarised. We have different groups that fight each other politically, culturally, and that often spills, of course, into the way that we see science and scientific expertise and scientific predictions as being 100% right or 100% wrong, or a particular prediction or future being 100% good or 100% bad. But of course, science is always going to be uncertain at the cutting edge. And so you will always get studies and predictions that are different when you're at the cutting edge, because we are at the tentative boundaries of knowledge. And people are putting things out there that are plausible, but have a limited amount of evidence to support them. And someone else is doing the same thing and they're going to say slightly different things. But eventually, over time, we gather more evidence, we gather more understanding, and we converge. And it's particularly difficult, of course, in something like climate change, because we're making predictions, and we're making predictions far into the future, which we won't be able to verify, if you like, for decades to come. Probably the biggest argument we're having at the moment in my field is around Antarctica, and it's around a particular idea called marine ice cliff instability. Now, if I break that down a bit, Antarctica is a vast ice sheet, and the western part of it is what we call a marine ice sheet, and that's because it lies on bedrock that is underwater. And it's been thought for many decades that this is inherently unstable, because the fact that it's exposed to the ocean, the underneath of the ice sheet is exposed to the ocean, can lead to what could be a self-sustaining retreat of the ice sheet. If you have a part of the ice sheet that is not only underwater, but the bedrock is sloping downwards inland, that particular setup leads to something where the loss of the ice gets faster and faster and keeps increasing and continuing, and it's something that would be difficult to stop. That idea of instability of West Antarctica has been around for many decades. But around 2015 and 2016, a new idea came about, and it was proposed by a couple of scientists, Dave Pollard and Rob DeConto, of a new kind of instability, which is called marine ice cliff instability. Now, instability is bad if you're talking about an ice sheet. So even the original ice sheet instability that was proposed 50 years ago is a worrying thing. It's something that could lead to self-sustaining ice losses in the future. Even if we limited climate change or even cooled the climate down, the West Antarctic ice sheet could potentially collapse over hundreds or thousands of years, and that would be enough to change coastlines around the world. What's worrying about this new idea of instability that relates to ice cliffs is that it could be extremely rapid. Some in the community are very convinced that this ice cliff instability will happen, and could potentially lead to very rapid sea level rise this century and beyond, and a very rapid collapse of the West Antarctic ice sheet. And then others in the community are not yet convinced either that it's going to happen or that it would happen on such a widespread and rapid scale as to make such a difference to sea level rise. And we have a lot of arguments in the literature, by our studies that we submit to journals, in conferences, and even within the process of writing the next assessment report for the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, the IPCC, which I'm one of the authors of, about how much weight to give to this hypothesis. How seriously do we take this idea in the future? Do we make plans for rapid sea level rise, build great coastal sea defences, start to make plans for moving away from the coasts? Or do we wait and see? Do we think actually the evidence isn't so strong? We need more evidence, we need more study, we need a firmer evidence base before we start to make those plans for potentially very rapid sea level rise. And at the moment it's too early to say. It's only a few years into this story. And I would say, still the jury's out, and people have different opinions about how much credit they give to it. But it's going to be a good few years before we really have a handle on how quickly Antarctica could contribute to sea level rise.